welcome to another episode of the Crispy Compact Communiqué, the 2021 weird version, streaming version, whatever you want to call it, version of the Crispy Noodle podcast. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. I am Rich Liebig.
I'm Michael Costanzo.
And we are here to give you some interesting bits in sports, entertainment, and odd news. We got a lot of interesting topics to get to on this week's show. I just doing the rundown, I feel like we were all over the place. And I think it holds true with Mike's statement that we're just in a weird timeline where nothing makes sense anymore. So we've got a very interesting show coming your way. But before we get into all those news topics that we're going to discuss, Mikey, how you doing over there, buddy?
I'm good. Staying busy.
Staying awake.
Over here. Staying awake. I know. We're just joking because before we started recording, I was literally like fast asleep on the couch and I was like, oh no, we have to record tonight. So.
Yeah. And I, part of it's my fault because there was a breaking news story that we added to the podcast that I had to do quick research on. And in that meantime, I think Mike got a little comfy on his seat of choice.
Rich, it's very valiant of you to take the fall for it, but that's all on me. I'm just an old geezer. I'm joining you in the old man's club.
Thank you. Yes, welcome to the club. It's a fine club, you know. Apparently I'm an old man, by the way. This is a good transition into what happened in this Easter weekend. You know, because you get together.
Why? How did you get even older since we last talked?
I don't know. This is just me. I don't like to exert any further physical activity than I have to.
Because you're an apex predator, Rich, and you have to keep all your energy, right?
Yes.
You're like a tiger or like a lion, you know, and you got to conserve all your energy.
Right. So after our second Easter dinner on Sunday, you know, because you can't have one, you gotta go. In an Italian household, you have to go back for seconds and thirds. So after the second one, a bunch of my cousins were like, "Let's go for a walk." And I literally said, walk? Who the hell walks? And it was noted that I jumped from 30 to 65 just right there. So there you go. I welcome you into the old man club. It's fun.
Thank you.
Seriously, who walks? Stop it.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't feel like I'd want to walk after eating all that food, you know?
Yeah. Like
it's a heavy meal, you know, because I don't know about you, but we have the pasta, we have lamb and potatoes, and it's a heavy meal. I don't want to walk. I want to go veg out, you know, on the couch.
Yeah. So but you know what? You're on my side. So there you go.
That's right.
This is team old man here.
That's right. Team old man. We got to be careful. We're going to get like walkers and canes for our birthdays and Christmases and everything.
Well, it wouldn't be my first time.
What?
Yeah, no, I've gotten, I got, let's see, I got crutches, I have canes, I'm trying to think what else I've gotten in the past. That's probably it. I don't think I ever got an actual walker. Although my grandpa had a walker, so he taught me the ways of being an old man.
He taught you the ways of being an old man? Oh my God.
Yeah, so, not exactly, but it does kind of fit in the roundhouse of this topic.
Okay.
So there you go. So other than refusing to walk, Mike, you do anything else this Easter weekend?
No, I was my girlfriend got her second COVID shot this past weekend.
There we go.
So, and you know, if anybody follows the medical news, you know that the second shot is sometimes the more potent of the vaccine shot. So she was kind of laid up this weekend after getting that second shot. So it was just a quiet weekend, watching movies and TV shows, eating Easter dinner that my mom cooked, and we went and picked up and had that. I did get a chance to watch King Kong and Godzilla on HBO Max. What a waste of filmmaking talents that movie is. I mean, I mean, we turned it on, and I'm like, did I need to watch the other movies to understand this? Because it was just proper noun vomit in like the first 15 minutes. They're like the Hollow Earth and the Titans are yeah. I'm like, isn't this just supposed to be two monsters fighting each other? Why are we talking about Hollow Earth theory? Why are we talking? Why is there this weird sci-fi? We're gonna have anti-gravity energy sources. What is this nonsense? I just want to see Godzilla fight King Kong. I had to slog through an hour of nonsense to get to the fighting. It was a I was not a fan of the movie. It was peak stupidity, if you ask me.
Yeah,
But
I'm glad that you can vouch for that because like I've never been really big into the monster movies. I'm not really a
the
big
monster movie genre just never clicked with me.
yeah.
Um,
I'm not a
but
big
this one in particular was dumb.
yeah. I'm not a big King Kong Godzilla fan. We had it on at a little small get together that me and Rachel went to, and I treated it like background noise. I was just like,
Yeah.
every now and then I would see like a good cool shot or something, but like I didn't. I don't know. Those movies don't usually do anything for me. So I'm glad to hear that it wasn't just my ignorance that the movie itself
No.
was actually pretty lame.
No,
Um,
it was actually pretty dumb.
okay, so that sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually apropos because we are going to have a movie topic in the entertainment portion of this, so stay tuned for that. But before we get to all of that, we do have a lot of sports news to go over, and Mike's going to be happy. He can rest on this part because it's the conclusion of March Madness, and it was first off, it felt great to watch college basketball again, considering last year was completely canceled because of COVID-19. So first off, it was just awesome to see March Madness back at the height of its popularity again. They did a good job too, keeping this all within Indianapolis. They created their own little tournament bubble, so that worked out well. I don't think there were, at least not any major COVID vacancies that I can think of during this tournament. So they really did a good job keeping everybody safe and keeping them protected in the March Madness bubble they created there in Indianapolis. But the bigger story, Gonzaga, man, still can't trust them. And this is supposed to be a good year for them. They were undefeated the entire season. They were rolling along in the March Madness tournament. And then it got down to the Final Four, and they had a very poor showing against UCLA in the national semifinals, which they luckily won on a miracle 3-pointer to close out the game. So you could have made the argument they shouldn't have even been in the national championship. And then they get to the national championship game, and Baylor routs them. And I gotta admit, kind of a little bit of a anticlimactic finale, but it kind of was a fitting tribute for Gonzaga because Gonzaga is one of those just perennial teams. They're always in it. They always seem to make a deep playoff run, but they never close it out. And this was supposed to be the year they were going to do it with them being undefeated, literally 31 straight wins, and
Wow.
then they go into the national championship game and they can't hold it together against the Baylor Bears. And Baylor is your national champion, which is also a good story on their part. Baylor had a couple of scandals rock their athletic programs back in the early 2000s. So to see them back on top is a pretty good comeback story as well. It's a tale of two sides, whichever side you want to see it, between Baylor's comeback success versus Gonzaga's just seems like continual collapses. It just seems like they always do this every year. They always get a high seed and they make a little bit of a run, but then they lose a game that it seems like they should have had. And the luck just ran out for them in this one. So Gonzaga, tough break, but congratulations to Baylor. They are your March Madness champions. And it was a good run. I'm glad to see March Madness came back into premier status.
I'm just glad to see two names that you don't always see at
Yeah,
the end of it. I mean, I followed exactly 0% of the March Madness tournament. Someone just told me that it ended. I was like, oh wow, that's right, that's the thing. Um,
Yeah,
so
Mike. There's other things besides football.
I don't know about that, but it's nice to see two names that you don't always see at the finals in the finals. So yeah, congrats to them. And I didn't realize that Gonzaga had gone undefeated until that point.
Yep,
You know,
31 straight wins.
sometimes though that weighs on a team.
Yep.
You have that zero in the loss column, and it's like Atlas carrying the world on his shoulders. Sometimes it's better to get that loss out of the way, and then you don't have to. I think back to the Patriots that year that they were shooting for 19-0. You know,
Yep.
they finished
For
18-1, lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Well, you don't even have to go to football. The proof is in the pudding. The last time a college basketball team went undefeated was Bobby Knight's 1976 Indiana Hoosiers. They went 32-0 to win the national championship, and that is it. Every other
Wow.
team since then that has entered the tournament undefeated, and that's actually quite a lot of them. They don't make it. It's just it's a lot of pressure,
Yeah.
and then on top of that, when you have that first stumble game where you look mortal, I think that ramps your future competitors that hey, we can take
Yeah.
them. It's a different atmosphere than you know than a football undefeated season or something like that.
Yeah.
So there you go. Sorry, Gonzaga. Thought they were gonna make history, but epic collapse. Which I'm sorry, Gonzaga. They've been having those. I can't trust them. A lot of people were asking me, what, if I was if I was betting on March Madness, who would I go with? And a lot of people said, why not Gonzaga? I'm like, I can't trust them. They always collapse near the end, and I was
Yeah.
proven right. They made it 31 games in a row.
I know it's a logical fallacy, but every time I see a team that's undefeated, I'm like, oh, well, they got to have a loss soon. A loss has got to be coming up. It's a logical fallacy, but I still think there's something to it with just that weight on their shoulders. I wouldn't gamble on somebody like that. It's too There's just like bad juju around it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yep. So there you go. If you do want an undefeated team in March Madness, you have to go all the way back to 1976, Indiana Hoosiers, Bobby Knight. Okay, we'll leave basketball now. We'll make Mike happy. Hopefully, Mike woke up, and we can get to a quick Deshaun Watson update because this seems
Oh
like
boy.
this is the new soap opera of the NFL. What do you
Yeah.
got, Mike?
Well, just last week we said we wouldn't, get to it because it didn't look like much was going to change, but proven wrong straight away as things continue to escalate in the Deshaun Watson situation in the NFL. There are now 22 civil lawsuits against him. The most recent news is that two women who filed suits have come forward publicly now and have made public statements. So up until this point, they'd all been anonymous through the lawyer, and now two are speaking out publicly. And also, Houston police are actively investigating the situation after two women provided statements to them. So all of a sudden, I mean, it was already serious, very serious, obviously, with 22 different lawsuits. And, I think it's, more than 25 different women now at this point. It's probably a low estimate. But now you have also the official police investigation as well. Um, Things are looking really bad for Deshaun Watson. Um, and despite all that, apparently, what I'm seeing online is that the Eagles are still one of the teams closely monitoring the situation. Houston apparently is in a more listening mood when it comes to trade talks, as many of the trade partners are backing away from the situation. So I'm surprised to see the Eagles' name still mentioned in this ordeal. It's probably one of those internet rumors that doesn't really have much to it. Every NFL GM does their due diligence, calls around, sees what the asking price is. I would be shocked if Deshaun Watson gets moved in some sort of trade with all this going on.
Yeah.
More likely, he's cut or suspended before he's traded, given what's happening right now. But it continues to escalate, and the situation continues to get worse for Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
It's bad.
it's I know you said it last week, when there's smoke there's fire, but this is just getting ridiculous now, getting up to 22 civil lawsuits. um yeah, there's going to have to be a reckoning at some point. They got to figure out, what exactly did he do, did he not do. It's turning into its own soap opera, and now we're getting close to the draft. I'm sure the NFL is not very appreciative of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this is something that needs to have a resolution sooner than later.
Yeah, well, it looks like it's not slowing down anytime soon. I was thinking that things are going to die down until, you know, I thought they were just going to go into a holding pattern, but it continues to ramp up. I've honestly been a little shocked that it has continued with this sort of forward momentum. And it looks like it's not stopping anytime soon. It seems like every time we record, the number just continues to increase. Now there's police investigations, and some of the plaintiffs are speaking out publicly. This is a very dire situation for Deshaun Watson. And um, I think sooner rather than later, the NFL or the Houston Texans are going to have to step in and say something, because it's getting a little out of control. So we'll continue to monitor the situation and have updates for you guys as updates come out. But I have a feeling we're gonna keep going back to the story week after week with the way that's been progressing. Um, but the Deshaun Watson situation has made other teams get creative when it comes to finding solutions at quarterback, because he basically has removed himself now from the quarterback um, conversation in the NFL as we approach the draft. And so one of the teams that was previously looking at Deshaun Watson has decided to go elsewhere. The New York Jets traded 2018 first round pick quarterback Sam Darnold to the Carolina Panthers for 3 draft picks. That is a 2021 sixth round pick and a second and fourth round pick in 2022. So the Jets now clearly in the market for a quarterback. The thinking is that they take a quarterback at the top of the draft there. Carolina now clearly going to run with Sam Darnold, essentially removing themselves from the quarterback conversation here pre-draft. Serge, how does this change things at the top of the draft order, or does it not really affect things all that much? I mean, people were saying 5 quarterbacks in the top 10. Is that still a likely scenario?
Yes, it's a likely scenario. I think it's more likely to happen, and I hate to say it, but I think this move will screw over the Eagles. The Eagles now look like they've traded too far back,
Yeah.
because now with the Panthers at 8, they're not taking a quarterback. They're going to be
Right.
taking a weapon to help out Sam Darnold. Now you can't pick up Sam Darnold and not give him another weapon,
Right.
or some piece to help him out in this now reclamation project now that Sam Darnold is. So unfortunately, I think that's because that's another team that is going to take away a possible wide receiver, a possible lineman. That's going to hurt the Eagles, especially now that they have to pick behind Dallas and the New York Giants. All of a sudden, this move back is not looking too good,
Well,
unless
what did I say? The Eagles are going to trade back again. I mean, it's looking more and more likely. Like you
yeah.
said, like you mentioned, this run on quarterbacks now has one less team potentially going quarterback. There's also always the possibility somebody leapfrogs us to get a quarterback that they really like, changing the outcome of it again. But the way that I see it is the top 3 or 4 weapons are off the board at this point. Now that Atlanta's basically going to go Kyle Pitts, because they've said that they've interviewed him multiple times. So Atlanta's looking to go weapon, and Carolina's going to go weapons. That's 2 of the top 3 offensive weapons that are going to be off the board by the time the Eagles get up to get on the clock. And both Washington and Dallas are going to take players that the Eagles are looking at. It's all part of the game of the draft, is trying to jump in front of your division rivals to get somebody who would prevent them from getting somebody that would benefit their team. So the Eagles' only option here is trade back again,
Yeah.
right?
And you know, it wouldn't surprise me if like Dallas or New York chooses a wide receiver just for the sake that you would just condemn the Eagles to like another
Oh yeah.
year where there's not a clear cut number one wide receiver.
Yep.
Like that, yeah, that would pretty much take the Eagles
One will
out
go
of
wide receiver.
competition.
One will go wide receiver. One will go cornerback, and the Eagles will be stuck with the second or third best option in each category, prompting them to trade down again. So I, I saw somebody online say maybe the Eagles trade back up into the top 10. I don't think so. This season is a let's see what we have season and collect draft capital for next year type of situation.
Yeah, I
So,
agree.
barring some sort of wild, ridiculous trade on draft day, I am fairly certain the Eagles will trade down, or they'll be very conservative and take like an offensive or defensive lineman at 12. Um, any chance for a weapon is completely shot now.
Yeah, I agree with that assessment as well. But hey, Panthers got a quarterback now, so
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if they can revitalize
you
Sam
know
Darnold's career.
you know what's funny is Sam Darnold is younger than Joe Burrow. How do you like that stat?
Really,
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Darnold was the youngest quarterback to ever start in the NFL.
So if he works out in Carolina, this could be looked back on as a crazy steal of a deal.
Yeah,
Um, I hope it works out for him. You feel
and
bad for these kids that are taken that high and get taken by terrible teams.
right, and so yeah. Here's the thing: you might say Sam Darnold, hasn't performed well or is a bad quarterback, but
He was on the Jets.
but he got stuck on the Jets.
Yeah,
Anybody would be horrible on the Jets.
right. Exactly.
So
Le'Veon Bell.
yeah. So
What didn't he go? He went to the Jets, right?
yeah.
Yeah. See, you no, you forget. You forget that these like marquee players go to these teams and just completely, essentially die. Their careers die.
How about Brett Favre? Brett Favre was on the Jets. Everyone
There you go.
forgets that. Everyone literally forgets there's one season where Brett Favre was on the Jets.
That's true. Yeah.
It's like a weird alternate universe that we don't want to recognize. So you're absolutely right about that. But for Panthers, yeah, this might be a steal. I mean, really, the major thing is they gave up a second round pick. So, I mean, sixth round pick, nah, okay, fourth round pick, nah. Second round pick might be the one that stings a little bit. But if Sam
Yeah.
Darnold can be, you know, can work, if he can work in Carolina, you know what? That's not a bad trade.
Yeah. I mean, even if he ends up being average, right, and he's just a game manager for them,
Yeah,
that's still a decent trade for them. So we'll see how things go. It's very interesting, and it just furthers this trend that I've been noticing recently, the past couple of years, where teams are much quicker to move on from high first round talent than they've ever been before.
yeah,
I look at Arizona, the Rams and the Eagles, the Jets. I mean, they're taking these quarterbacks top five and they're like, all right, done. 2-3 years later.
yeah.
NFL stands for not for long. And in the past couple of years, I mean, Arizona took a top 10 quarterback like 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
So, teams are impatient because they see these young quarterbacks win right away. So if they don't strike gold, they're like, all right, next. Which, I mean, why not?
Yeah. If you're a top 5 pick and you don't change the team immediately,
You got to know sooner rather than later. And these teams are just move on real quick.
Yep. So speaking of things moving quick, here's the exact opposite for some people that I know. But for me, I think it moves still at the right pace. It's time to talk about my favorite sporting event. We got to talk some golf because this weekend is the Masters tournament, the Super Bowl of the golf world, heading down to Augusta, Georgia. This is it. I love Masters weekend. I love Masters Sunday. There's so much history. It all gets me. It pulls at my heartstrings. and I cannot wait to watch this year's version of the Masters in its rightful place in April. It's interesting. There's been a lot of post Masters backlash from last year because it had to be held in November.
God, people have nothing better to do
Yeah, and people have
than
been
complain about the month that the Masters. Look, be grateful you got it, right?
yeah. But people, they've been complaining that it wasn't right. It didn't feel like a true Masters. So all that can now go out the window. It's legit. We're back to April. This is it, the first major of the year. I guess in a way though that screws over the defending champion Dustin Johnson because he only had a 6 month, 5 or 6 month ish reign as Masters champion. So he will try to defend his honor at Augusta, see if he could be one of the very few back-to-back champions. Although, if you are a gambling man, he is the overall favorite at 9-1 to win the Masters, so that's a good sign for him.
Okay.
Probably the most shocking development is our old friend Jordan Spieth.
Oh yeah, he's
Yeah,
been very quiet since he first broke out.
well, he won last week's FedEx tournament, and people are saying that maybe this is the right time for him to get back into momentum. Winning a tournament right before you head into Masters, that's nothing but positivity. And Vegas has taken note of that, and they've elevated him to 10-1. So he is right behind Dustin
Yeah,
Johnson.
neck and neck right there.
We also have perennial favorite Justin Thomas at 10-1 as well. Then we've got the king of the long ball himself, Bryson DeChambeau at 11-1. It's going to be interesting to see him tackle Augusta again, considering that there were conditions that didn't really play well 5 months ago at Augusta that happened to him. But this weekend is looking to be pretty standard fare, sunny for most of the week. So maybe DeChambeau will take advantage of that and drive the ball, and we'll see some wacky attempts from him because he's just crazy. He has so much distance off of his clubs. I mean, it's like anything's possible. Anything in this golf bag is possible. He can just pull out any club he feels like he's confident in and create a unique situation. So he's somebody that I would keep
He's
an
a
eye
wild
on.
card.
Yeah, because he just seems to have this knack of pulling off these incredibly long shots.
Okay.
We also have John Ram at 12-1, Rory McIlroy at 14-1. This is the one he needs to complete a Grand Slam. He doesn't have a career Grand Slam yet, so Rory, if you want to complete that career Grand Slam, this is a good time to do it. Unfortunately, I know this is one of our favorite golfers, Brooks Koepka. He's gonna play, but unfortunately, he's dealing with a little bit of an injury, which in golf, a little bit of an injury is a major concern, especially if you're looking for bets. So unfortunately, he has tumbled down the list all the way down to 25-1.
Ooh.
So unless you're expecting an inspirational come from behind story, it looks like Brooks Koepka is not a smart bet. We also have Colin Morikawa 30-1. Sung Jae is an interesting one. An Asian golfer. He's been on a little bit of a hot streak in the last couple of tournaments, and on the flip side, he's been rising up the odds. I think when this thing started, he was down at 70-1. He is now up to 30. I just had it and I lost it. 35-1. There he is. 35-1. So
he's climbing quickly.
That could be a breakout star if you believe some of these Vegas odds. Tommy Fleetwood Mac 45-1. Previous winner Sergio Garcia 45-1. And now we're getting into more specific ones after that point. So we got a good field in this year's Masters. I love it. This is, legacy. This is history.
I know this is one of your favorite sporting events of the year.
It is. It's perfect. Even if you just incidentally like golf. I mean, this is the one you sit down, you enjoy on Sunday, you watch how the pros try and navigate this challenging course. And you get to specific holes that have memories. And I tell you what, CBS does as much grief as we give for the Masters having specific things when it comes to the presentation of their tournament. CBS does a great job of like pinpointing these historical moments that have happened at each hole. It's perfect. I love it. I can't wait. I can't wait to get comfy Sunday, see the leaderboard and see who we're watching and see who's making the chase to glory, trying to win at Augusta this Sunday. So I am definitely looking forward to it.
There you go. So we know what Rich will be doing this weekend.
Yeah,
He'll be busy watching the Masters on CBS, as you always say.
You have to have that soft voice. The Masters at CBS. Yeah. And you got to have that Jim Nance softness, for those that maybe you might do this. You might just listen to Jim Nance and just doze off because he's so soft.
That's what that is what would end up happening to me if I were to try and watch it.
Well, that's why you need me in the room to be like, oh my God!
You're probably, I've never watched you watch golf, but you probably watch golf the way other people watch like actual exciting sport. Sorry, there was no polite way to say that.
Thanks, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But there you go. Watch golf. Watch the Masters. You got at least watch Sunday. Sunday is great for the the final round. That's when everybody takes shots that they probably wouldn't take because the last round you got to try and
it's all on the line, right?
It's all on the line, so it's perfect. At least tune in Sunday. It's worth your time, I believe. But there you go. That will wrap up sports. Let's get into some entertainment news. Mike, I heard you've got some video game news you want to talk about.
Yeah, just a little bit of brief video game news. Just an interesting little topic that I saw come across my news feed. We talked about this last year, but now it's coming up to the actual moment in time. PlayStation is set to release their first game on Xbox on April 20th. The release.
That doesn't sound right.
No, it doesn't sound right, but it is happening. MLB, the show, I guess 2021.
Yeah.
I don't play baseball games. Is coming to Xbox.
More specific. It's a good series of games.
That's what I hear. I hear it's fantastic. And now here's the thing. It's so good that essentially what happened is, or from what people are deciphering online, is that Major League Baseball basically forced Sony to release the game on multi-platform so that they can reach the widest audience possible, which is why Sony, in order to keep their deal with MLB, has to release the game for Xbox as well. So on April 20th, you can get MLB The Show 21 on PlayStation 4 and 5, as well as Xbox consoles. But here's the craziest part of the deal is that it's not only available on Xbox consoles, but it's being made available through Xbox Game Pass, which is Microsoft's version of Netflix for games. So if you subscribe to Game Pass, you can play MLB The Show 21 on release day without spending $60 on it if you're a subscriber, which I'm not a subscriber to Xbox Game Pass. I'm not a subscriber to PlayStation Now on the PlayStation side, and I don't play baseball games. But if I did and I was a PlayStation gamer, I'd be kind of ticked that the rival console is getting, in my mind, a better value version of this game than the actual rights holders console is. You know what I mean? Like Xbox is getting it for Game Pass, whereas PlayStation gamers have to pay full price for the game. It's almost a little, backwards. There should be a better version or an enhanced version or some sort of promotion on the PlayStation side, and Xbox gamers have to pay full price. So it's a very interesting dynamic there, that not only is it coming to the opposition console, but it's also being made widely available to Xbox Game Pass subscribers. Rich, what do you think of this? Is this a bold new frontier for video games where these platform holders are just going to develop for each other's consoles? I mean, we already see that with Microsoft. I mean, Minecraft is owned by Microsoft. I have Minecraft on PlayStation. I actually have an Xbox Live account because I have to have one to play Minecraft on PlayStation. So it's not necessarily a new thing, but it's the first time we are seeing Sony do this. So could this be a brave new world of video games?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is just the natural evolution of releasing games. I mean, and another thing too is you have to remember this is also the pressure from Major League Baseball
Yeah.
because they're gonna want a fair shake at this too. And if you're only releasing it on one of the three major consoles, well, then yeah, by its definition, you're leaving money on the table,
Yeah.
and they're not going to be happy with that. So it's the decision to do this is very understandable, and I totally get it. But it is funny when you put it in that context that it does seem like the Xbox users kind of get a better deal on a game that was PlayStation only.
Right. Don't you feel like if you were a baseball fan and a PlayStation gamer, you'd feel a little gypped in
Yeah,
this scenario?
yeah. I would. There'd be some questions. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, there is some. It doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound right to the ear, but it does make sense.
Yeah. And that's the statement that's coming from Sony too, is that MLB wants it in front of as many fans as possible. And that's the way to do it, is by releasing it on multiple consoles and putting it on Game Pass and et cetera, et cetera. But I do hope that this is a sign of things to come. Obviously I want PlayStation exclusives to remain exclusive to PlayStation because that's, what I like best about the console. But I also wouldn't mind, in select cases where console developers decide to, give the other side a taste of things. You see that with Horizon Zero Dawn coming out on PC and Death Stranding coming out on PC. And on the flip side, you have Microsoft bringing some of its indie titles to Nintendo Switch and allowing Minecraft to be on, every console under the sun, anything that has a screen. So, I and honestly, this really is, I think, the future of video games is moving towards video games as a service instead of the exclusives. We've talked about this before. I think Xbox would be smart to go games as a service because their consoles have never performed the same level as PlayStation and Nintendo. It's just the way that it's been. They've always finished second or third place in the quote unquote console wars. So I'm also saying that because I would love to be able to play Halo and not buy an entirely new console for it.
Yeah.
So it's pure capitalist greed on my part. I want the best of all the consoles. Um, but it's an interesting new trend to see video games go in this direction. So we will keep you posted if there are other PlayStation exclusives coming out on different consoles or vice versa.
Yep.
But moving quickly along to the next topic, we talked about movies earlier in the podcast, and this is the topic that really started the whole movie conversation when Rich texted me earlier today to let me know that Sylvester Stallone, rising from the grave like Methuselah himself, to re-edit Rocky 4. I don't know why Rocky 4 specifically. He just threw a dart at a board and decided Rocky 4. And we may be getting a quote unquote Stallone cut later this year. And why, though, is my reaction. Rich, break it down for us. What's going on here with the Stallone cut?
Yeah, if you follow Sylvester Stallone on social media, he has been teasing these clips where he is in a movie editing room with Rocky 4. And he claims in his recent social media posts that he is finished re editing Rocky 4 and that it's going to be released later this year, a la like the Snyder cut of Justice League was to HBO Max. I don't think Stallone has procured a streaming service yet, but he is saying that this is happening, that he has finished his Stallone cut of Rocky 4
But
and
but
he's going to
why?
re-release it. Well,
But why though?
Why? Well, Mike, let me tag that in.
Money is why.
Yeah, let me tag that in with the following follow-up question. In another follow-up article, Stallone says that he is looking into, quote, a Rocky prequel TV series as well.
But the Rocky prequel is just a bum from South Philly. Like, there's no prequel. Like, Rocky 1 is the prequel.
They're just gonna go. They're just gonna go to South Philadelphia and find a bum and make him fight, and they're just gonna shoot behind him. That's it.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. In the very complex Rocky lore, I mean,
yes, it is lore at this point.
I'm just taking shots now. I'm just taking shots.
It's now what 8 movies.
No, more than that. Because wait, are you counting Creed?
Yeah.
Okay, because there's gonna be a third Creed. And you also have Rocky Balboa.
Yeah, so
it's actually 9, right?
Well, it's 5.
Because you have 5,
it's the
5 Rocky
Balboa.
Named,
then Rocky Balboa, then 2 Apollo. So 8 finished, and then whatever Creed 3 becomes. 3.
Okay.
But
do we add the Stallone cut to this? Is it going to be 9.5 now?
Yeah, right. I don't know. Am I going to have to rewatch it? Like, is there some sort of deleted footage that I don't know about? Like,
this is so all right, let's take these one at a time. The prequel television series, stupid. It shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
because like I said, there's no prequel, because the whole point of Rocky is that he's a nobody and he's coming up and he's trying to do this thing, and he's fighting against the odds. Like, that is literally the prequel. The prequel to Rocky is Rocky, right?
Yeah.
You're starting on the ground floor. There's no story before that. So I just immediately dismissed that out of hand. Point the second, what in God's green earth could Stallone do to Rocky IV to make it any different? This is what I don't understand about director's cuts. Has there been a director's cut that is markedly different than the original version?
Well, the Snyder cut did it.
Okay.
I hate to say it, but if you're asking that question, the answer is the Snyder cut. It really did save that movie.
Did it really, though?
Yeah. The movie itself, it did. The Snyder cut is markedly so much better than the Joss Whedon crap that came out in 2017. But if you're asking what's the end game, that does get a little foggy, because Snyder's not going to get his universe. He's not going to get his Snyder, his vision of the Superman 5 movies that he wanted to do. It's not happening. So if you want to ask that question, I could see you're more frustrated with that.
I guess, in my opinion, I am never compelled to watch a director's cut, because you hear the stories of, like, Blade Runner got the director's cut and Watchmen got the director's cut, and Snyder got his director's cut. All these director's cuts. The Godfather trilogy was recut into the Coppola thing, where they put it chronologically. And didn't he try to re-edit the third Godfather as well?
Which that was not too good.
And my opinion of these have always been, historically, they haven't accomplished much. There's only so much that you can. I know you say Zack Snyder's cut is different because he, like, literally doubled the length of the movie. So yeah. I guess that's how you would make it markedly different, by doubling the length of the movie. But even as a Lord of the Rings fan and watching the extended quote unquote director's cuts where they're adding tons of content of the Lord of the Rings movies, it's usually content that's just padding or filler or, little slice of life type things. It's not anything that's dramatically, with the Zack Snyder cut being the exception, changing the overall story, right? So, and especially for something like a Rocky movie, like, look, forgive me my sins, but they're just underdog sports stories. It's the same story, guys. There's not a revelation here. It's the same story, just copy and paste it over and over again. Like, you realize that, right? So I don't understand how he's going to edit it to make it markedly different to warrant a quote unquote Stallone cut. And I think that's my biggest issue here. It's like re-editing Remember the Titans, or like re-editing like any sports movie. Sports movies all follow the same key notes for the most part. So, I
Yeah.
mean, forgive me my cynicism, but I feel like I'm not far off the mark here, right?
No, you're not. You're not for this thing. I don't see how much more Stallone can quote improve Rocky Four with his Stallone cut.
Right.
Um, the problem is the Snyder cut thing was a whole different animal of the beast. The whole
Right.
Snyder cut
Because it
thing,
was two different directors. That's not the case here. In all the other directors' cuts, they're just ego stroking themselves.
right? The Snyder cut thing, that was more of first off, there was an online community that was dedicated to getting it shown and demanding Warner Brothers doing it. So there was an organic movement on its own to have it happen. There
Right.
was a personal endeavor because Snyder personally left the project after the tragedy with his daughter. Um, there's more of a there was more of a gravitas with that movie.
There was a reason for it to happen
Yeah.
because the original director's intent was not what made it to film. But in all the other cases of director's cuts, and I listed, I mentioned Blade Runner, Watchmen, Godfather, now Rocky, the director's intent 90+% made it to the screen, right?
I think so. I mean, maybe
Blade Runner,
maybe
maybe.
Godfather Part Three. There's little things you can nitpick, um,
But
but
overall, his
overall,
intent, his intent is what ended up in the theatrical cut.
uh, most of it. There are some things you can nitpick. So
Okay.
I can't give you the outright seal of approval on that statement, but you're pretty close.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, it is weird. Is this gonna start like a new trend that like every director is gonna want to release their own cut of the movie or whatever?
Which was my response to you is, can we just stop with the insert name cut trend already? Because it's getting nauseating, and I honestly can't stand it. Every
Well,
director is going to want to do this.
well, you know what's funny is with I think this is kind of a response to COVID because you had all these directors for the past year. They couldn't work on new films.
It's true.
So what do? You twiddle your thumbs? No, you go back in the editing room and you try and recut something that you didn't think could go together. And I think that's what we're kind of seeing with all these developments. Stallone came out of nowhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like he just woke up one day and was just like, you know what? I'm going to re-edit Rocky Four. I really love that Drago.
He just
Release the Drago cut. I want to see Rocky Four, but told from the perspective of Drago. That's what
now
I
you
want to
see
see.
now that would be an edit that I would want to see. I would want to see an edit that completely changes the tone and themes of movies. I don't want to see the same movie with some deleted scenes thrown back in.
Yeah,
You know,
release the
that's
Drago cut.
release the Drago cut.
That's what I say. Make that a thing.
I would totally watch that. But yeah, this whole topic here has got me completely flustered and confused. I'm conflustered. Just
Wow,
what
I made up a word.
I made up a word. That's what this has done to me. Um, because like I said, my theory is always that what makes it to the theater is more often than not the definitive version of a movie. Like, yes, there's always stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor, but usually what makes it to theaters is the most effective version of it. It's the because usually what directors want to add back in is sentimental stuff, scenes that they love that they didn't want to cut. As a creative myself, sometimes you grow so attached to a scene or to a section in your work, and you don't want to cut it. But oftentimes it's the cutting of it that makes it better, right? When you add it back in, it's like watching deleted scenes. Like, how many times you watch deleted scenes on a DVD and been like, oh wow, that was an interesting thing, but I can see why they cut it. It doesn't add anything. And ultimately, that's my opinion of director's cuts. Is more often than not, I feel that it falls into the DVD deleted scenes territory. And I still have yet to watch one to change my opinion. I have not watched the two versions of the Justice League, and I have not watched the Coppola cut of The Godfather 3, but I don't think there's anything that's going to make me change my opinion of director's cuts.
Well, I can guarantee you not Godfather Part 3. You're not gonna. I can already tell you're not gonna like that one.
Well, you know my opinion, Godfather Part 3. That whole thing should have hit the cutting room floor.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but maybe Justice League. Maybe that might change your mind.
I think because that one's unique in that it really is the original director's version.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Everything else is just ego stroking, but that one was, he didn't actually get to finish it. So that one I give a pass to.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Well, speaking of directors, this next topic has to deal with a director of a different kind. The owner of WWE, Vince McMahon. This is the story that I needed to research on and caused Mike to fall asleep. But it's okay, Mike. I'll bring you up to date on this.
Okay.
There was a Reddit post by a guy named Tom Cedric.
Okay.
And we're gonna follow his story real quick. He was a maintenance executive at the American Airlines Arena in Miami from 2006 to 2010. As a result, one of WWE's shows came to town. It was SmackDown and ECW at the time. So that's one of their big TV shows. So naturally, Vince McMahon was scheduled to be there. And, they have to set up the arena in a different way for the wrestling ring. And they have an office for Vince McMahon. He claims that at this show that was scheduled in April 2008, he was told that to prepare for Vince McMahon's visit to Miami's American Airline Arena, that the room that he was going to be in, that all mirrors must be removed from this room.
Okay.
Strange request. And that also, quote, that when McMahon comes to park at the arena, there can be no other vehicles next to his parking space because Vince believes that cars can communicate with each other to steal his secrets.
What? Why? What? What does that even mean? Cars communicate with each other. There's like beep 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 beep. Like,
is it Morse code?
Maybe, yeah. And they're just beeping Morse code to each other. Cars can communicate with each other to steal his secrets. Is he okay?
I don't think so. He always has been a little nutty.
I guess you have to be nutty to, do what he does, right?
Yeah, he's taken bumps. He's done some damage to his head, so he can be a little nutty. But this is definitely,
I love that.
This is definitely out of left field.
Yeah, remove the mirrors and then make sure no cars are parked next to him because the cars are communicating with each other.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So very interesting storytelling here. Well, just in the nick of time, this made it to Jim Cornette's drive-through podcast. Jim Cornette is a former wrestling executive, former wrestling manager. Basically, Jim Cornette's, if you have a role, he's done it in wrestling in the last 30 years. So he has a very popular podcast that I love to listen to, just going over some, wrestling tidbits, wrestling stories, things you might not have known about the industry. It's a fantastic podcast. So this topic came up on the podcast and they asked Jim Cornette, have you ever heard anything like this? So he burst the bubble on this, saying that he never heard of this with Vince McMahon and that this is all probably a load of crap. But in his diatribe in this story, he reveals a interesting tidbit here. And Mike, get strap in. I wonder if you've ever heard anything like this before.
Okay.
Jim Cornette claims that McMahon has, quote, a gimmick Hertz car, which is what he delves into is a super secret Hertz car that is reserved for only 10 or so VIPs at once in the country. It is specifically registered to never be towed or ticketed. and that you can leave it anywhere in the continental United States, and Hertz will pick it up under no strings or penalties or fees or anything like that. It's reserved for super elite VIPs.
What is this not? What is this nonsense? That actually annoys the hell out of me. That there's some people that are like so special that they have a car that can never be towed or ticketed. So you can just park on someone's like lawn and they're like, oh, can't do anything about it. It's the super Hertz car. Like, and Hertz will just rush out and pick it up. They could just leave it anywhere.
Anywhere within the continental United States is what Jim Cornette says. Now, again, keep in mind, this is also Jim Cornette saying. So we don't know if any of this is true. We don't know if either of these stories are true. We don't know.
I think both these guys are full of crap. I think, look, Rich, you're a wrestling fan, so maybe you can attest to this. But I feel like even the people who are in charge of telling the stories of wrestling still fall into that wrestling trope of being, how should I put this?
Over-exaggerating.
Yes, thank you. And I feel like both of these individuals, both the Reddit user and Jim Cornette, are solidly falling into those categories. That maybe not all the mirrors were removed. Maybe there was a mirror that McMahon didn't like that he had removed. Maybe he didn't want cars parked next to his, not because they couldn't communicate with each other, but because he was afraid of them dinging his super special Hertz car. And the super special Hertz car is probably just a very fancy car that Vince McMahon once left at some dive bar, some strip club, and Hertz had to go pick it up. And so it took on this legend of its own where it's like, oh, they'll go pick it up anywhere. It can't be towed because it's the super secret Hertz car. No, it's just a Hertz rental car that because Vince McMahon has money and power, Hertz did, bend over backwards for this particular client. So I feel like there's little elements of truth probably that got warped and twisted to make a fun story because it's wrestling. Mm-hmm. And this furthers the image of wrestling being absurd and exaggerated and over the top and complete lunacy. Right?
Yeah, that's kind of my too long didn't read of this is, it's probably
the kernels of truth.
Yeah, that's just way over exaggerated.
Yeah.
Especially with Jim Cornette. I kind of feel like that's definitely over exaggerated.
I feel like that can't even be possible. How can you register a car to never be towed or ticketed?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah. And also, not to sound hoity-toity over here, but, I work for a radio station, and every now and then we get access to concerts. And I've seen stars get away with crap, that you would never be allowed to get away with. I've literally seen celebrities drive up to concerts in these huge 18-wheeler mega tour buses, and they're allowed to park anywhere they want to because it has the headliner in it. What are you going to do? Write the headliner a ticket? Like, no, you need the headliner to come and perform at your show. Right. So it's kind of the same logic as Vince McMahon is running the show. Literally, if he says to do something, just have it done.
Right.
It may not be for these specific reasons, but I just want to say, whoever it is, whether it is Tom Cedric, this Reddit user, or somebody that told him this, whoever came up with the idea that cars can communicate with each other,
that's awesome.
Get that man into a writing room with some movies or something. He needs to write the next. Whoever came up with that aspect of the story needs to be in a writer's room.
Cars can communicate with each other. You know what's funny is that one day that will be the case.
Yeah.
But this dude was way ahead of his time.
Yeah, not in April of 2008.
No.
Yeah, not 13 years ago.
Cars are communicating with each other.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
So there you go. I had to bring that to your attention. That was such a great story.
That was, thank you for sharing that, because that is just pure insanity.
Although, if you do think this is true, then I will ask the staff in Tampa Bay this weekend to keep an eye out on things happening, because WrestleMania is also this weekend as well. So it is a big weekend, actually. The Masters and WrestleMania,
Wow.
both happening this weekend.
This is like your favorite weekend right there.
Yeah, everything's been rolled into one. This is great. Yeah, during the day you watch the Masters in Augusta,
There
and
you
then
go.
you drive over to Tampa Bay at night and you watch WrestleMania. There you go.
There you go. Perfect.
Perfect
The
timing.
whole weekend booked.
Yep. So there you go there. All right, let's get to some odd news. I thought that sounded like it was going to be odd news, but
I know. It's a great story to transition into the odd news nugget for the week.
yeah.
So what do you got prepared for us, Rich?
All right, well, let's give Florida a break. They've been featured a lot the last couple weeks. Instead, we're going to South Carolina in this story.
Okay, South Carolina.
We're going to follow the case of 41-year-old Michael Boatman.
Michael Boatman. Okay.
This
Good first name. Interesting last name.
This sounds like if you had a crappy alternate ID you wanted to go under.
Boatman.
I'm Michael Boatman. I saw
That's exactly what it is.
Yes, Michael.
He's like he probably lives in like. Tell me, does he live near the shore? And he's just like, he just called himself Boatman because he boats and he's a man. Michael Boatman.
This is in Spartanburg.
Spartanburg. I gotta look that up.
I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't sound like it's near the coast.
So he's just confused and lost.
Yeah, he might be confused. So, what was Michael Boatman doing? Well, apparently he was walking around at 1 a.m. naked.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, just perfect. Just why not? It's 1 a.m.
It's 1 a.m. I mean, that's the perfect walk around naked time. 1 a.m.
Yep. Cops were observing him walking around the Spartanburg neighborhood. He was able to find a clear bag that he placed over his genitals. So he had some sense of modesty.
Did he, though?
He tried to find something.
Just a clear bag.
That's the best he can do.
That's the best he could come up with.
Yep. So cops finally had enough of observing and decided to confront him. And they asked him, "What were you doing?" Of course. You're
right.
Obviously. That's when Boatman explained that, quote, "I am doing a walk of shame. I needed to complete this task for my wife."
Okay.
Yeah.
He needs to complete this task for his wife.
Yeah.
What does he mean there? Walk of shame.
Apparently,
where's he walking to and from?
Apparently, Boatman said that he had been caught cheating on his wife.
Ooh.
And that his wife burned all of his clothes.
Oh, there you go. That explains it.
No, it doesn't, though.
Okay.
Let me just get to this part. I mean, unless he was caught in the act of cheating, but he never mentions that in the police report. He still has clothes when he goes to go talk to his wife, does he not?
You would assume so. And also, burning all the clothes would take a long time. It's not like she's just like snapping her fingers and all the clothes instantly incinerate, right?
Yeah, you would smell something. I don't know. Would you get back in time? Something?
So if all his clothes are burned, that means that he went wherever he was going naked.
Yeah.
Because like if he left the house and she's burning the clothes while he's out,
he should still have some clothes on him.
Right, exactly. There should be some clothing somewhere.
Yeah.
Unless he left the house naked. I mean, that's possible.
Or he was caught in the act.
But he doesn't
say. He doesn't say he was caught in the act.
Well, but still, even if he was caught in the act, I mean, the clothes are like strewn on the floor and stuff. So the wife, like, gathers up the clothes off the floor and then runs and gathers all his other clothes and then starts a massive fire. You're right. It doesn't pan out. It's it's way too much effort.
Yeah, unless he's
to happen that quickly.
Unless he's naked to start out with, and the wife has an incinerator in the backyard.
Maybe.
Yeah, like it's the only way that this could work. So I don't know.
Unless she maybe he was caught in the act and she kicked him out and he was naked and she refused to allow him to put clothes on.
Maybe, but it doesn't say in the police report.
No, it doesn't.
I would think the cops would want to know, like, hey, why did you not grab something?
Right.
So unfortunately, that's not good enough of an excuse to get out of the trouble here. So police were about to arrest him. And when he saw the handcuffs come out, that's when Boatman tried to book it. He tried to run away. So now we got naked dude running around Spartanburg.
Yep. Fantastic.
I'm gonna assume the clear bag probably fell off. I don't see the clear bag staying on during this chase.
No, I don't think so.
So.
I just love the idea of him like trying to hold this clear plastic bag as he's like running away from cops. Yeah.
I have to be proper.
I have to be proper with my completely see-through covering.
Yeah. Eventually, police tackled him and he was handcuffed and put in a squad car. That's when he asked a deputy to just end it for him. He thought like that was going to be it for him.
Just end it. What does that mean?
Yeah, he thought like he was going to spend the rest of his life in jail, I guess, for this charge. God. I mean, look, now you're being overly dramatic. Like, come on. Like, yeah, you're going to spend in jail a couple nights, but you're not going to be lifetime. You know, this isn't life in jail worthy.
No, he's about to get off with like a minor fine.
Yeah. He was charged with indecent exposure, disorderly conduct, and resisting police. So he'll get some jail time, but nothing too crazy.
Now he'll be out walking about naked in no time.
Yeah, back to cheating.
back to cheating. All right, you served your day in jail. Back to your cheating ways.
With his walk of shame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there you go. That's what I have for you in the odd news this week. All right. Well, I think most people are going to know my apocalypse activities now. It's watch the Masters and WrestleMania. But Mike, what apocalypse activities do you have?
So I've recently been watching, I don't know if I talked about this last week, but I've been watching Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus. And it's a comedy series about an American football coach who is hired to coach a UK soccer team, right? So it's very much a fish out of water type story. And I was drawn to it because, I'd heard that it won some awards. It was getting some praise. It, won a Golden Globe for Best Actor. So I figured, might as well check it out. And it is really, really funny. It is a fantastic, feel-good story. You can't help but be excited. My mom just walked in the room and starts agreeing with me, forgetting that I'm recording a podcast.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
No, we're recording.
You might.
God, there's.
Yeah, you might as well take off the virtual background, get them in the show at this rate.
No, that's okay. So they've been watching the show as well, clearly, and it's so funny, and you can't help but root for these characters and feel so. It just feels so connected to their storylines. I'm completely distracted now.
It does sound like a good show for you.
It is a fantastic show. The positivity of the main character is infectious. And the main theme of the story is, he's trying to do his best as this fish out of water to correct this wayward soccer team. He's trying to, fix everyone else's problems, make sure everybody is being the best version of themselves. And ultimately, he's struggling to do that very thing for himself. So he's funny and he's infectiously positive. It's also a very sad character, which makes it really, really interesting to watch. So if you have Apple TV Plus, go check out Ted Lasso. And just a quick pitch for Apple TV Plus, slowly becoming one of my favorite streaming services between Central Park, Ted Lasso, and Mythic Quest. A couple of really good streaming shows that I've grown very attached to the past year. So go check it out. Highly recommend it.
And all I can say is, of course, Mikey's an Apple guy to the bitter end.
Look, it's not me being an Apple guy. It's me appreciating quality content. It's not just me. Go look up the shows, Central Park, Ted Lasso, Mythic Quest. They're all really good shows and deserving of.
I have heard good things about Ted Lasso, so you're on the right path with that.
Yeah, so I think everybody, it's a shame that it's only on Apple TV Plus, because I know not many people probably have it, but if you somehow are able to get Apple TV Plus, definitely go check it out.
Yep. All right, with that, we got to start wrapping it up. Your parents are in the background. It means it's time to go to bed.
Yeah, exactly.
You already took a little bit of a cat nap, so we gotta.
I did.
we gotta send you right to bed. Sound like
I know. Last week you were the one that had to be put to bed. Now I'm the one that has to be put to bed.
Yeah. Now I sound like I'm reprimanding you. Go to bed, Mike.
Yeah.
Go to bed.
Go to bed.
Yeah.
Go to your room.
Well, before you officially do that, let's wrap this up. This has been the Crispy Compact Communiqué. If you like what you heard, make sure you go to our website, thecrispynoodle.com. Make sure you're following us on all the social media shebangabangs, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that lovely hootenannies.
In addition to all those shebangabangs and hootenannies, you can also subscribe to our channel on YouTube, where you can find the video versions of this podcast, in addition to a whole bunch of other great video content we have up there. But we also still have the audio-only version of the podcast available on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and Amazon devices. So make sure you search for, download, and subscribe to the Crispy Noodle Podcast on either YouTube or the podcast service of your choice.
That's right. We got the SoundCloud page as well. Check that out for fun little minute-long promos that'll make you laugh on the go.
That's right. So many ways to get in touch with and share the Crispy Noodle Podcast. If you want to get in touch with us individually, though, to share your sports, entertainment, or odd news stories, you can find us on Twitter. I'm at Mikey Costanzo, MikeyCostanzo.
And I'm at Rich Liebig, RichLiebig. You can find us on the Twitters and let us know what's happening. Follow me if you want some reactions to the Masters this weekend. I'll probably be tweeting and enjoying that as well. But for right now, we got to start wrapping this up. This has been the Crispy Noodle. Let us be the Crispy Noodle in your vegetarian salad of life and boring news. You got anything else, Mike?
No, I'm ready to go to bed.
He really is, too. He's going to pass out. All right, well, there you go. That'll do it. We'll see you guys next week.
All right, see you guys.
Later. Bye-bye, all you fine peoples.
Some of us have great stories, pretty stories that take place at lakes with boats and friends and noodle salad. A lot of people, that's their story. Good times, noodle salad.